Cap's Stories War Series presents Kingdoms at War, written and edited by Shigioka Joseph. Episode 3 brought to you by Supernatural Stories Empire. Previously on Kingdoms at War. Your Majesty, there is no hope for Bidegrain. What do you mean by that? Just when he was about to give up, when he thought that all hope was truly lost, the ground shook and now. The ground shook and the spaces between Bidegrain's soldiers and that of the Nizan Knights divided. The ground opened up, swallowing the Nizan Knights, and they all fell in except the two sorcerers. They used a spell to make where they were standing solidified, and so, it did not open. Everybody, including the sorcerers, looked up and saw Ceres on top of a hill near the palace. King Bodwine's face lit up in a smile as he realized that Ceres only joked about Bidegrain having no hope. Many sorcerers were scared of Ceres, knowing how powerful he is, but Jacqueline and Edgar were not scared one bit because they were also powerful and they thought they would be able to defeat him if they attack him together. Jacqueline chanted a spell and a force threw Ceres down from the hill, but he was quick to get back on his feet. Jacqueline chanted another spell that will make Ceres to lose control and attack Bidegrain by himself. Ceres recognized the spell as a dark magic spell and its effect comes up after 5 minutes. Ceres quickly chanted a spell and his whole body shone brightly that they had to cover their eyes, and he seized that opportunity to teleport behind them, and he held their hands, transferring the spell to them, making them lose control and attack each other. They kept fighting for about 20 minutes, which was when the effect of the spell would wear off. They regained their senses and were angry because Ceres used them against each other. They held hands and chanted El Tundra Munifico. A bang of thunder sounded and a great deal of lightning struck Ceres away, making him weak, but he stood up like nothing happened. His eyes turned pure red as anger was now visible on his face. Lightning came all over his body and he sped towards them and launched an attack, but they blocked it. Edgar used his dark powers to create a black sword which appeared on both his hand and that of Jacqueline. If a normal human is stabbed with it, he or she dies instantly, but if a supernatural is stabbed with the sword, he or she goes unconscious for a while unless he possesses the power of a god or goddess. They dashed towards Ceres and tried to stab him, but he did a backflip, escaping the sharp edges of their swords. Edgar teleported behind him and tried stabbing him, but he made a sword appear on his hand and blocked the attack. He knee-kicked Edgar, sending him backwards. Jacqueline kicked him, but he ducked, and Jacqueline kicked incoming Edgar, sending him on the floor. Ceres quickly stood up and caught Jacqueline's leg. He flipped him over and that sent him crashing really hard on the ground. Edgar was trying to stand up, but he was too weak because he landed with a loud thud on a rocky stone and it was still causing him pains. Jacqueline stood up and moved towards Edgar and lifted him up. They looked towards the direction Ceres was, but they did not see him. They were about to move towards the direction of King Bodwine and Anna when Ceres appeared at their back. They felt a presence behind them and sensed it was Ceres. They did a low front flip, escaping the red lightning he threw at them. They kicked him and he went backwards but stood up with the speed of light. They rushed at him and he chanted a spell, making them stop on their tracks. They tried moving but they couldn't. Ceres made a portal appear at their back. He raised his hand up and a force pushed them in. He turned to the king and smiled. Always think of a plan in the time of war instead of panicking, he said, and disappeared.